What word comes to mind when you think of Justin Gaethje? For me, it's adaptable. Yes, adaptable. This isn't to say he isn't violent or bone-crushingly strong, but he is surprisingly keen on adapting. Throughout Gaethje's career, he's adapted his style constantly, sometimes in the middle of fights or from one fight to the next. I'll be focusing on Gaethje's powerful striking, but among the most important things that Justin will need to beat Khabib is intelligent game planning. In part 1, I covered how Khabib is relentless in his takedowns. Check that out or watch it after this video. Let's start with Gaethje's movement and powerful counters. Justin Gaethje's slick movement on the feet allows him to evade, corral, and counter his opponent. You will see Justin Gaethje adapt to his opponent and create threats based on their style. Gaethje squares up to Tony to bait him in, and uses his lead hand to bait Tony into hand fighting. Tony is a known hand trapper, using his Wing Chun style hand trap to set up his elbows. And this is exactly what Gaethje expects. Tony goes in for the elbow, and Justin immediately checks him with that left hook. After hitting Tony hard, Gaethje returns to the center of the cage. Gaethje often baits his opponents into following him. The idea is he has a chance to plant his leg, which forces them to follow and plant their leg as well. Perfect time to throw a leg kick. Gaethje has now established that lead hand as a threat. Gaethje is relying upon messing with his opponent's expectations by using his movement and hand fighting. With these two things together, Gaethje can make reads of what his opponents try to do and punish them for careless mistakes, or exploit them, especially when a pattern presents itself. So when Gaethje puts out his lead hand to hand fight, Tony is definitely hesitant. Tony plants his foot, and Justin immediately denies Tony a chance to strike by moving away. Gaethje is still controlling with his lead hand. Gaethje subtly threatens his overhand right and quickly level changes to a feint. He uses the level change to regain space. Tony is very frustrated at this point, decides to be a bit unorthodox, and goes in for a jump feint into a body kick. Justin immediately recognizes the distance and cracks him, and again, he's making Tony follow him to the center, controlling where the engagements take place. This type of movement is extremely important versus Khabib, as Khabib's best position is pressuring his opponent to the cage, where he can use his wrestling. Justin has become a very powerful and evasive counter hitter. That's also apparent in Gaethje's use of leg kicks. Justin has finished many opponents with his monstrously powerful leg kicks, and has stated he just needs to hit Khabib a couple times and his leg will be compromised. That is a definite threat. The reason Gaethje's leg kick is so effective is simple. Gaethje uses them as a counter to punish his opponent's movement, either when they move to the side away from him, try to plant a throw, or as a means to hit them out of a clinch. If an opponent wants to plant to generate power into their strikes to engage or punish Justin, he will often use that opportunity to punt their leg, or to counterpunch them, making it very difficult to predict what he will do and when. Gaethje has hobbled many opponents with his leg kick and restricted their movements. The fear of the leg kick opens up the head and all of Gaethje's offensive options. While it is possible to counter, the timing is tough to get down because Justin uses them as counters himself. Gaethje uses level changes as an evasive and offensive maneuver, dipping in and out of range and using it as a feint. Here, Gaethje level changes and feints into hitting the body. Tony covers up and leaves his head open. Justin feints the left hand and Tony attempts to roll with the punch. As Tony moves, Justin cracks him in the stomach. These aggressive feints mess with Tony's expectations and puts him in a bad position, and then he's hit hard. Justin often uses this pressure to get in and do damage with a variety of options. Tony's attempting to enter an exchange, but Gaethje is denying it by dipping and repositioning. Tony's attacks are exclusively targeting the head, and also using a jab as his main foundation to enter. Naturally, dipping is a great punish to a straight headshot, so that helps him shift in and hit the straight left. Justin Gaethje used to counter using the high guard, catching strikes on his forearms and then returning back. But now he uses it a little bit differently. He still catches strikes on his forearms, but now he combines it with his movement, and he's very defensively sound because of it. Using the high guard like he used to made him a stationary target, but now he can move a lot more freely and counter a lot more safer.
You know how I've been talking about how Gaethje's a very adaptable fighter and very intelligent? Well, the thing he's going to use against Khabib is this shift hitting. We only see pad work from now, but this is definitely new from Gaethje, and it's going to be definitely something interesting to see what he's going to do with it. He's definitely going to cage cut, I can tell you that much. He's definitely going to try and cage cut Khabib with this. He kind of did against Barboza. He could definitely, Khabib can be a little bit bad moving backwards. He can tangle up on his feet. Justin knows the habits of his opponents, and he's going to exploit them, and this is part of it. The way he exploited Tony, he can probably exploit Khabib this way, and this is what he's been practicing. The extent of it, we don't know. There's a lot of things he could do. There's a lot he could do. He could set up his left hook with a right hook. He can, a ton of things. He can punish Khabib from coming in. I just think this is very interesting. I want to touch on it just a little bit. I think it just shows what we're going to see from Gaethje in this fight.
In the last part, I mentioned the use of Gaethje's single collar tie and clinch work. While it's obviously kind of dangerous to get too close to Khabib, Gaethje's single collar tie and clinch, if used correctly, can be used to escape positions and do massive damage, controlling Khabib's head. Khabib will most likely look to get in close, and Justin throwing knees and uppercuts from there can definitely do tons of damage. Comparing Gaethje now to how he fought a couple fights ago is definitely interesting. Justin has grown immensely, but there's still some issues that Justin has. He can often go for opportunities that aren't really there and swing really hard 100%. His guard can definitely be exploited due to how high it can be, but against Khabib I expect some change. The way he dips his head makes him vulnerable to uppercut and uppercut feints. They can be used to push back Justin to the cage and make him hesitant if he's hit by one. Justin staying off the cage is definitely important, and in the Tony fights there are moments that he was pushed back. Of course, when Tony feinted or threw an uppercut, as well as when Tony hurt Justin. In the beginning of the next round, Justin was pushed back. Being tired seems to affect Justin and his techniques, and he can be pretty sloppy, but the power is definitely still there.
Over the years, though, Justin has continually shown how much he improves from fight after fight, showing how teachable, how adaptable, and how intelligent he really is. And in this next fight, we might even see a better Justin Gaethje, and the thought of that is pretty terrifying.
Khabib Nurmagomedov's most dangerous weapon is his wrestling. On the feet, his takedowns are a constant threat. As an actual striker though, Khabib is very limited, but the threat of his ground game is always there to make his opponents nervous to engage. As a wrestler who likes low attacks, it's important to have his opponent as tall as possible. In general, a lowered crouch stance is a good way to stop takedowns. To discourage this position, Khabib often uses uppercuts and uppercut feints, pushing them back while opening their hips as they raise their hands. Moreover, the uppercuts can also work in tandem with the threat of the takedown. Khabib can mix both threats to make the opponent unsure which is going to be the thing they need to avoid. This causes them to panic even more, especially when Khabib is using both level change feints and throwing. Khabib level changes and shows the uppercut. RDA slips and tries to throw a hook, but Khabib goes into another level change. RDA's position is now compromised. As he throws a strike, Khabib gets an easy takedown, thanks to the uppercut setup. By consistently throwing an uppercut feint, Khabib could push back Gaethje or find his timing and create the uppercut takedown mix-up. Famously, Khabib whacked McGregor with the same concept, by exploiting McGregor's attention in the hand fighting by mixing in a level change. Khabib can set up an overhand right. He can often blitz his opponents with a flurry of strikes, making them tense up or push back to the cage. Dustin Poirier, after the fight with Khabib, said it was really hard to get his timing due to Khabib's level changes, uppercut feints, and his movement. Even if he isn't technically sound, it has been affected in confusing his opponents. As a tactician, Khabib is actually pretty smart. Dustin Poirier isn't great on his back foot, and Khabib put him there with his pressure. Conor is explosive in the first round, so Khabib took him down to drain his energy. He is rather smart at making reads to create offense, and defensively, even if there are openings in his defense, Khabib keeps a safe distance to avoid some exchanges. He knows he wants to keep his opponent guessing instead of getting in long exchanges. Khabib uses his jab often to set up his strikes. They are all thrown at the same speed and only at the head, making them easy to counter. Al Iaquinta started countering Khabib multiple times, and Khabib had no real answer other than to just jab. The Al fight in general shows quite a lot in Khabib's weaknesses. The fact that Khabib made Al a bloody mess is still a testament to how strong Khabib is, but the vulnerabilities are there if Khabib cannot get the takedown. Khabib's body is always open, and in all his fights, any fighter who attempted to hit Khabib in the body succeeded. For some reason, people are obsessed with hitting Khabib in the head. Khabib's body is vulnerable because of the way his guard is. His right hand up high close to his head, and the other can kinda drift a bit, but is mostly used for jabbing and leading to takedowns. Level changes from Al definitely tripped up Khabib as well, opening up the head and the body. Body shots as well as low kicks are a definite attack that can hit Khabib from the way he stands. Fighters just generally don't throw low kicks against Khabib, as there is a threat to being taken down. But Khabib has never shown he can time a takedown like that, and with Gaethje's power and how he throws them as counters, could give Khabib a little bit of trouble, but it's still an interesting idea. Early in fights, Khabib can be easily pressured and has pretty bad footwork moving backwards. With his chin straight up and his head back, Khabib only moves back linearly. And when backed up to the cage, he can get tripped up by his own feet. A good cage cutter can definitely trap Khabib and lead him into a punch. And he crosses his feet a lot in general. But of course, even there, Khabib's wrestling is a huge threat and will always be in the back of his opponent's mind. Khabib has an aura. He makes people hesitate and second guess their actions, from the threat of his relentless wrestling alone. Khabib's goal for this fight is simple. He can't afford to fuck around with Gaethje on the feet, because Gaethje can manage space and punish mistakes while dealing intense damage, far more than anyone Khabib has fought before. He needs to start fast, not give Justin reads, and get him to that fence and work quickly. Likewise, force Justin to work in long wrestling exchanges. Get Justin there by constantly level changing and feinting the uppercut. Constantly pressuring is going to be key. The moment Gaethje crouches or tries to threaten a strike from a lowered base, uppercut or level change to threaten. Otherwise, Khabib needs to stay on him and make him work. The risk is that he may have to take a shot, and probably will, but a slow start would be much harder for Khabib here than it would be versus many others. For Gaethje, managing space in front of Khabib and in the center cage is key. If he's behind the black lines, he needs to be able to pivot out on an angle and get out. Fortunately, many of Khabib's takedowns in open space due to his taller stance make it easier to predict. Likewise, he's constantly open to leg attacks. Khabib is likely to follow him. If Khabib attacks, Gaethje's main priority needs to be safe position first, punish second. If he is going to punish, then attacking off shifts that take him off the center line is key. Switches and shifts or extended pocket battles without getting his hips exposed is also key. If you can draw Khabib into a counter and attack the body, he may make the champion's life very uncomfortable. Gaethje can pressure Khabib, but he needs to establish threats and punish off Khabib's reactions, and especially cut him off, and not let Khabib off the hook if he's going against the cage wall. Outfighting and measured pressure are key here. Spatial control and safe options are intertwined with that. This fight is extremely hard to call. We have a striker who uses wrestling to stay striking, and a wrestler who uses strikes to get takedowns. Both can steamroll the other given the right circumstances. There's so many what-ifs in this matchup, and a fight like that gets me extremely excited, where it's extremely difficult to predict a clear winner. The win would mean so much to Khabib after losing his father. Justin loves fighting more than anything and has gotten emotional just talking about how much he loves to fight. I'm a fan of both fighters and really excited to see what happens. And my prediction? I'll tell you in a second. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you'd like to support my work, I have a Patreon. You can also just like and subscribe to this video and share it with your friends. Dan Albert is the lead writer on this part of the video, of the striking part, and really does amazing work. Check him out on Twitter and read his articles on Justin Gaethje's career. Thanks. Ed Gallo helped out a ton in my writing in the first part, and he's also a great writer himself. Check out his articles on thefightsaga.com as well as Bloody Elbow. Aiden Hayes, I asked to help me late, and he really impressed me with the amount of knowledge he has on everything. His articles are also on fightsite.com, and they're a joy to read. Downward Elbow is an absolute boy, and he helped me out a bunch. Check out his YouTube channel for striking breakdowns. Toby Wardell. Follow Toby. He helped me a lot with some of the animations, especially in the Khabib striking section. Thanks a lot, and check out his art. T-Kicks, Kyle Hobbs, Herky Jerky also were a big help in animating some short clips for me, and I didn't have time to do everything. I did like a lot, but you know, I'm really grateful to you guys too. There were a ton more people I consulted on this project, and I can't thank them all, but here's a list. I asked you guys questions, and people were really nice enough to answer me, and I really appreciate it. And everybody who supports me on Patreon, or who's a friend of mine, or a new friend of mine, whatever, thank you for helping me create what I love to do. I hope to continue soon, and yeah. Oh, and my fight. The pick for the fight. I think Justin's going to win. I have no analysis for that. It's 50-50. But I just have a gut feeling. Body shot. That's the joke. I think he's going to hit him with a body shot and take him out. I don't know. I don't know shit about fuck.